Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to another F1 Fantasy Weekly, and we were super excited last week because Fantasy 2020 is here.
It's here.
It's here.
We could hardly control ourselves.
And by controlling ourselves, would you think that in that excitement people might make mistakes?
Maybe.
Well, apparently I did. Apparently when I set up our original league last week, the league code was for a league that goes from Japan to Abu Dhabi. It's an issue.
It's problematic. We won't be able to really comment on anything until, how long is it to Japan? 5 months?
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
It's near the end of the season.
It would have been the end of F1 Fantasy.
Yeah, but what we're going to do is, if you want, you can still join that league, and it'll be a little sprint finish league at the end of the year. Our own version of F1's mini leagues, Suzuka to Abu Dhabi.
It was planned, is what we're saying.
Yeah, but no, what we've actually done is we've created F1 Fanatics League 2.0. We're a bit like Valtteri. We're better now.
Yes.
So what we've done is the league code, going to put it up on screen for you now, is 22042 lowercase cc884, but it's up on screen for you as well. But guys, today's episode is obviously, I think, a few of you regular fantasy players, or if you're new to fantasy, what we're going to do is we're going to run through the game rules today, everything that's kind of there. And we're going to look in detail at the new features in the game and everything, and you know, all the pricing, the new dynamic pricing, how you score points in fantasy, and yeah, look at those new features as well, before of course rounding off with our usual Kimmy moment of the week. And we will give a warning, there are spoilers alert to Drive to Survive, but not really, if that makes sense. But anyway, we're going to get into the rules, so I will start off with the game rules. So this will be a quick run through because all this information can be found on the F1 Fantasy website. But basically, pick your team. So you pick up to 3 teams of 5 drivers and 1 constructor from $100 million dollar budget. Your teams will score points based on your team members' actual performance in Grand Prix during the 2020 season. You must also select a turbo driver for each race who will score double points. You can make as many changes to your team as you like before the team picking deadline at the start of qualifying for the first race of the season. Each user's last saved team is the team that gets entered into their leagues. Initially, a valid team must cost 100 million or less. There are no restrictions on how many drivers can be used from a particular team. As the price of your drivers and constructors increase or decrease during the season, this will be reflected in the budget available for you to use when making changes to your team. So when your drivers go up or down in price, so too will your budget, so you may have a budget greater than or less than $100 million as the season progresses. Joining leagues, I assume very much you just go to the join section and you enter your league codes, and then you will go into that. Team lock. At the start of qualifying, all teams are locked. At this point, there is no more editing of teams for that Grand Prix. All users' teams are then revealed so other users can see which drivers and constructor everyone has selected. Live race week. All player and team data updates in real time. This ensures that everyone can see how their teams are performing as the sport unfolds. Leaderboards are then updated after the Grand Prix finishes. Point scoring, we'll see if that kind of improves, because the live scoring last year was a little bit crazy.
Terrible. It was just terrible.
I'm pretty sure at one stage in qualifying that everyone, like minus like a Lewis Hamilton and someone random like a Grosjean, had minus points for some reason, and we were like, right, okay. Not sure about that one. But I'm sure they've improved because they've made improvements this year, which we'll get onto. But point scoring. I won't follow that one because point scoring is going to be done by Stephen. But we'll go on to post-race of the section. Results are confirmed shortly after the race finishes, and all leaderboards are then updated to reflect the final standings for that race. Manage your team. Before the season starts, you can update your team without restriction. Once the season starts, you can only make one change for free in each race week. Each further substitution will result in a deduction of 10 points from your weekly and overall point totals. Unused substitutions do not carry forward to the following race week. The exception to this structure is playing your wildcard, which allows unlimited changes to be made to the team as explained below. You can change your turbo driver who scores double points each race without penalty. I'm going to leave out the Mega Drive in this one because we'll explain that in the new feature. But turbo driver is you must select one driver to be your turbo driver for each race. Turbo driver is a booster that multiplies the points scored by the selected driver by ×2. Only drivers priced at under $20 million can be selected as your turbo driver. This driver can be different for each race, but must be selected prior to saving your team and doesn't count as a substitution. If your turbo driver's price is increased to above $20 million after you've selected them as your turbo driver, you can keep them as your turbo driver. If your turbo driver finishes a Grand Prix with negative points, this score will also be doubled, e.g. -2 will become -4. Wildcard. The wildcard allows you to make unlimited changes to your team without penalty. You have 2 wildcard plays per season, one up to the Hungarian Grand Prix and one after the Hungarian Grand Prix. Once you've used your wildcards, you will not be able to use them again for the rest of the season. You cannot carry over an unused wildcard from the first half of the season to the second. And breathe.
Wow.
That was chaotic.
That was F1 Fantasy in a nutshell.
That is the rules. We said today is going to be detail. We are up in our game. We are serious. Like, we're giving you serious info right here.
That was, yeah.
I mean, you could have read it yourself, but you may just... It's like an audiobook.
Yeah.
We're the audiobook for the rules.
That was it. In that compact format, you now know F1 Fantasy.
Exactly. But you now know what the game is. Do you know how to score points?
Do you?
No, Stephen.
Oh.
Maybe you should tell me.
Let me explain.
Okay.
There is a lot of points, so... okay. I'm just going to jump into it. So basically, points, you can get them from the race, you can get them from qualifying, and you can also get them from streaks. Let me start off with qualifying. Okay. Drivers, everyone gets 1 point. If you don't qualify to Q2, you get 1 point. Okay? If you make it into Q2, you get 2 points. If you make it into Q3, you get 3 points. It's nice and easy. If you qualify, and then so I'm taking a step back. Sorry, I'm already messing up. I'm following a tough act. You read us the rules, and it was all nice and clear. The points get a bit messy, I'm afraid. So we have qualifying, we have race, and we have streaks. And then within those, you also have teammate points. So you're up against your teammates as well as other drivers. So in qualifying, your teammates, if you qualify ahead of your teammate, you get 2 points.
Hi, Tara. She's making another appearance on F1 Fantasy Weekly.
Okay, so that's the qualify. You get 2 points if you out-qualify your teammate. If you do not qualify, you get -5 points. If you get disqualified, in the very unlikely situation, you get -10 points. When was the last time someone got disqualified from qualifying?
I can't remember. Hello, Tara, again. I can't remember. It's been a while. There certainly wasn't any disqualifications last season. I'm pretty sure.
In qualifying, because Renault got disqualified from Suzuka, but that was in the race, wasn't it? So there we go. Whew. We're still on qualifying. This is easy, though. From 1st to 10th...
bonus points.
Yeah. If you qualify first, you get 10. If you qualify 10th, you get 1. And it's 1
exactly.
point per position.
It's basically 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way down to 1.
There we go. So that's qualifying.
We're done.
So you get 1 point Q1, 2 points Q2, 3 points Q3. You get 2 points if you beat your teammate. Minus points if you do not qualify, say engine problem, if you don't go out at all, and then you get the bonus points for finishing the top 10, depending on where you finish. So now onto the race. Starting off, you get your 1 point for just finishing it. Wherever you finish, you just get a standard 1 point. For if you beat your teammate during the race, you get 3 points. But here's where it gets a bit messy. Okay, so here's where qualifying, your starting position comes into it. For every place you gain during the race, you get 2 points, up to a maximum of 10. So even if you finish, if you start 20th and you win the race, you still only get 10 points. So what was that? Five
overtakes.
If you do 5 overtakes, you get the maximum from that 10 points. If you have the fastest lap in the race, I think it's regardless if you finish in the top 10, because that's where you get the bonus point, you get 5 points. And okay, so those are the way you gain the points in the race. You can also gain them from your World Championship points. So that works exactly the same. First, you get 25 points. 5th, you get 10 points. 10th, you get 1 point. It works exactly how normal World Championship point scoring works for the bonus points. Onto the minus points from the race. Similar to your positions gained, if you start in the top 10, you get minus 2 points per position lost, up to a maximum of minus 10. So if you start the race in pole but finish in 5th, you get minus 10. If you start outside the top 10, it's slightly less punishing on you losing places. It's minus 1 point per place lost, up to a maximum of minus 5 points. If you're a not classified driver, so you don't finish, you get minus 15 points. If you're disqualified, which happened to, was it both Renault drivers? That's
both
Suzuka?
Renault at Suzuka.
You get minus 20. I turboed Ricardo that week. Turbo in works even if you get positive points to minus points, so you get doubly minus.
The wound still hasn't healed.
I'm still bringing it up. Okay, so that's racing.
We're on the home stretch. Stay with us here. This is for your benefit. Understanding the game means you'll play better, which means you have a better chance of winning the prize at the end of the year.
Yeah. Here's the nice simple bit, okay? You may need to listen back. I may have got you a bit lost in the whole racing thing. Streaks. Now, if you notice when you're buying a driver or selecting a driver, there is a Q and there is an R and then like 5 dashes after each one. These are the driver's streaks. Now,
just a note to that, when we were doing New Year, New Fantasy and suggesting a clearer way to see streaks, bam, they've listened to us. So we've made Fantasy better. You're welcome, F1.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay. So, what these streaks mean? They can mean big points. Because if a driver qualifies in the top 10 5 races in a row, so all those 5 lights light up, they get a bonus 5 points. So you'd think for those top 3 teams, they're going to be getting those qualifying streaks quite often. But for the mid-table, you can also benefit, because if they get the streaks, get them in at the right time, turbo, that's 10 points from your qualifying streak. And then for the driver, for the race, if you finish in the top 10 for 5 races in a row, you get 10 points. Imagine that. Say Carlos Sainz, he's on his qualifying streak, race streak, he gets them both, you've turboed him, that's an extra, that's 30 points from streaks, just on Carlos Sainz.
Incredible.
It's mega.
No, that's the bit on mega.
Yeah, sorry, that's thank you. Doesn't sound as good. Okay, and the constructors also have the same, so you'll see those Q and R 5 dashes. Basically exactly the same. If both the team drivers have to qualify in the top 10 for 3 races in a row, sorry I said exactly the same, it's 3 races in a row, you get 5 points. If both drivers finish in the top 10 of the race, you get 10 points, 3 races in a row. So it's, yeah.
It basically makes the big 3 constructors, even if you don't have them in, you're going to want them in when they're going to be on the streaks, basically.
Exactly. That is the points.
It's done.
Should we mention them? The Mega?
We can now mention Mega Driver. So, Mega Driver is a new thing for F1 Fantasy 2020, and we said also in New Year New Fantasy, you know, a part of Football Fantasy, you get things like bench boost, you get a triple captain, and you know, stuff like that. So what they've done is they've introduced they've introduced Mega Driver, which means one driver can score 3 times points that weekend, and it can be applied to any driver. So a turbo driver is $20 million and below.
A Mega Driver
is anyone. So Lewis Hamilton, you're backing him to win, say, the Monaco Grand Prix, bang, Mega Driver, whatever he scores, times 3. Huge. Could make up a big difference if you absolutely nail this.
If you time it with streaks, like I was saying, so if you get qualifying race streak, if they time perfectly, you get 15 points there. Mega turns out to 45 points.
Incredible. You could literally have a mega weekend. Yeah. It is a Mega Driver.
It's a big game changer.
It is really huge. The important thing to note on it, though, is you can't be super clever and say, like, turbo someone, they're about to get streaks, then Mega Driver them, so you can't, like, up that to, like, a times 5 points.
No.
They're over there. But I think this is a massive one. You definitely expect it's going to be seen on the top drivers. And, yeah, using that. And if you really nail it, huge points you can really make up.
Always keep an eye on those streaks, because that's where you get the big bonus points.
Absolutely. And Stephen, I believe you're now going to take us on to a new feature, which is the dynamic pricing.
Yes, I'm getting the easy jobs today.
Very easy.
So, last year, how pricing worked was... Well, actually, I don't fully know. I'm sure Jan will tell us in the comments. But the pricing was locked, and it changed. It changed like a day after the race. So basically, you could.
But from the previous weekend's performance, I think.
Yeah. So there was a way to exploit it, but it basically changed once a week. There was the. Jan will probably tell us the specific details, but yeah. Now, pricing just changes all the time, I believe. I'm not sure if it's like once a day, if it's like every hour. Does it? I don't think it fully explained, but it makes it sound like it's changing all the time, depending on how many people have that driver in their team. So they have their starting price. And then I presume... I don't fully know how they're going to do it, but basically it will increase if lots of people bring him into their team.
Yeah. So say Lewis Hamilton, say Valtteri. Okay, right. Sebastian Vettel's probably. I was going to go through a load of drivers. Right. Sebastian Vettel's probably the best example here. He's a cheap driver at the moment. Say suddenly Sebastian Vettel wins Melbourne, people are going to suddenly go, I want Sebastian Vettel, maybe Ferrari are going to do well this year, and he's really cheap and it frees up space. So then Sebastian Vettel's price may increase. I don't know how much of an increase it's going to be, but basically, you know, a load of people. But that can work the same. That could work for Valtteri Bottas. He might finish 5th, and obviously he's the second highest priced driver this year. A load of people might take Bottas out of the team, and therefore, you know, he then... you know, his price goes down, and then that might be the time. It's one you've got to really analyse the market and think, like going and analyse the races. You might think, wow, that's low for Bottas. He's strong at race XXXX, and they're coming up. I'm actually going to get him in while he's cheap, and you know, I can save some money there, and that might free up some funds in my team. So basically, yeah, it's something that's... it encourages you to engage in the game. Before, I'd say quite a lot of players would pick their team, start the season, and then not really pay attention. Now the game is really encouraging those players, because remember, at the end of the season, you can get paddock pass tickets to a Grand Prix if you come first in the world. So it encourages those players who are going for that type of thing. And obviously, if you want to come first in our league, we'll hand out a prize at the end of the year as well. It's that those type of things. It's encouraging you to pay attention to the game, to follow the market, pay attention to F1 more.
And the thing is, because it changes continuously, it will also change on race day and qualifying. So say someone has a great qualifying, their price may go up. Someone has a terrible qualifying, you may want to get them in there, and then whatever. So it's quite interesting. This changes. It's going to be interesting to see how often it changes and how dramatically it changes. That is basically, I think that's basically their new pricing structure in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Changes continuously. The more people bring him in, it'll go up. The more people drop him, it'll go down. There's also, you can see the general trend of a driver. They call it the sentiment bar. They'll indicate to see if their price is going up in general or if it's going down. I think that's basically it.
Nice.
Because you touched on transfers.
Right, and we covered everything up there. So now we're going to probably talk about the improvement to the visibility and easier user interface, which is some of the things that, we noted needed to be improved in New Year, New Fantasy. So, we're not saying, look, obviously I presume a lot of these things were in place, but, it's nice to know that some of the things that we reckon to improve are correlated to what they actually have improved, which is nice. So basically, if you now click on your driver's teams, you can basically, so say I've got Sebastian Vettel in the team, I can click on Vettel. Obviously there's nothing there on performance now, but it basically now has an event name, frequency. I'm not sure what that will necessarily come on though, but it will give his points that he scored at race. So you can start to analyse the consistent points that a drivers are scoring and how good that may be. You can also do that for the constructor, and it just makes things very easily visible. Also, during your team, you can now, there is going to be a very easy, we asked for it during the tracking, for the season, for the standings, it's going to be telling you how many points they're qualifying, how many they're racing on the kind of Australia weekend, and it will also is going to keep there's a much easier way to find out how many points a driver has scored in the season and also how many points a constructor has scored. So therefore you can you've got more information available, which means you can make more educated selections to your fantasy. So hopefully, it improves your enjoyment of the game because you have more understanding with what is actually going on. Where I think a lot of the criticism in fantasy has been before is it's a little bit confusing to kind of keep track of things, and unless you are dedicating so much time to it, it's very difficult to kind of keep track of.
Exactly.
Is there any other things that I've missed?
No, I think we have the prices. The prizes look very similar. Doesn't look like they've changed much. It looks like they're giving away a bit more team merch on a weekly basis. I think that's changed. If you're the top scorer of a week, you now get a team T-shirt.
I don't know if that will change through the season. So yeah, obviously, the weekly prize was very. It used to be the F1 2019 game, but the team merch is pretty cool now.
Yes,
didn't it? But I think probably the main prize to kind of point out, which is really cool, is in the mini league ones. So we spoke about the mini leagues and that they're useful, but they aren't really done it. So if you go to the lobby section of F1 Fantasy, you can go to upcoming, and basically in the upcoming element of things, you have like official F1 mini leagues. So it will be to like Australia to Vietnam, I think it's like the first one. And if you come top of this official mini league, then what can you win, Stephen?
You can win an F1 signed cap from I believe your team of your choice. That is their standard prize. But I'm sure they may chuck in a few more prizes here and there depending on the league.
Exactly. So that is actually very cool. And basically, I think there's a lot more encouragement for people to play F1 Fantasy this year. They have promoted it a little bit more. They still can do it a little bit better, but obviously we'll be keeping everyone up to date with everything as the weeks go on. But I think we've explained everything that's new and the whole game in a bit of detail there.
Yeah. I hope it was not too confusing. I hope it was clear. If there was anything you have questions about, leave them in the comments and we'll try to address them.
Exactly, and I think we explain it. We're always there, and obviously keep up with us throughout the season, and we will be giving you updates on how everything's scored and kind of like top performers and low performers as well, and giving our points through the season. And obviously these new things have made that a lot easier for us to do so. But that is it. That is the end to, and it was quite a serious part, the F1 Fantasy this week.
Yeah, it's no laughing matter.
That was very sensible. But, you know, we want everyone to be on this equal playing field. We want people to understand how to play the game, because when you understand things, it's a lot more fun.
Keep an eye on those streaks.
Streaks
my
are
top
going to be big
advice
key.
this year, now they've actually made them visible to everyone, clearly visible, keep an eye on those streaks.
And mine would be play the market early so that then you can have a good team later on in the season. So try and increase that budget as much above $100 million as you can, because that will mean you've got a lot more options, say, come later on in the season.
Exactly.
But we now move on to the end of our F1 Fantasy Weekly podcast, which means there is only one way to end it, and that is a Kimi moment of the week. There was a lot of hype last week. Drive to Survive, Season 2. It came out.
This is the spoiler alert. This is if you haven't watched it and it's not really too relevant to the series, is it?
Okay, it's a spoiler alert, but basically Alfa Romeo aren't really featured in it. But yes, Tara. But there is about a 5-second clip of Kimi Räikkönen, and they could have not put a more Kimi Räikkönen moment in Drive to Survive. It was hilarious for me.
Well, let's hear it.
It was very funny. So basically, at the end, they're talking about this season. They're getting excited. People are talking about, yeah, we're going to build a championship-winning car. We're going to push all the way. You know, we're going to raise our expectations. We're going to improve. We're going to go up. In steps Kimi Räikkönen. What does Kimi say? I'll tell you what Kimi says. It's more like a hobby for me. So obviously, I don't need to do it if I don't want.
Kimi.
Boom. Basically, kills the moment dead. There's dramatic music playing in the background. There's dynamic cut shots. There's the drivers. Just little clip-its of like going, yeah, we're going to push. This is going to be our year. This is it. Kimi, I like cars. They race quick. They're fun.
If I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it. Don't force Kimi to do what he doesn't want to do.
Exactly.
It's his hobby. He's having fun. Stop ruining Kimi's fun.
Who cares? Who cares?
Does it get you around a racetrack?
Yes.
Oh, right. He cares then.
Wait. No.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm confused now.
I am confused, but Kimi, he does what he wants.
Basically, leave him alone. He knows what he's doing.
Leave him alone.
He knows what he's doing.
If he doesn't want to do it anymore, he doesn't want to do it anymore.
But I would recommend that, because I, in my terrible Kimi accent, probably don't give him enough as good impression as it is. So if anything, I'm sure someone's probably clipped it in like YouTube, or if you got Netflix, and you don't want to watch the series, but you find Kimmy funny, just skip to like the last couple of minutes of it when they're talking about the 2020 season. Watch that last bit, and then just be like, "That's so Kimmy."
That is Kimmy. You sent me a message, and I just said classic.
Classic Kimmy, exactly. It's just classic Kimmy. But anyway, that's a shorter Kimmy moment of the week. Obviously, building up, we'll be back to Kimmy story time next week in what will be, how exciting, our preview of the Australian Grand Prix, who we think is going to be good picks. We will have our kind of final teams that we go for, because we have already changed them from what we
mine's completely
announced
different
last week. And I think mine's pretty different, but fairly similar.
We'll also go through your teams if you want to leave them in the comments. I'm sure they've changed from last week's, because some people put their teams in the comments. We'll also have a little look at people in the league.
I'll tell you what, just sprung to my mind in terms of going. What we're going to do is, coming up to the Grand Prix, in the preview episodes, if you leave your team in, it will feature in a new special section of F1 Fantasy Weekly, which will be Rate My Team.
Rate My Team. And we'll pick one or two. We'll do Rate My Team.
We'll rate your team.
Rate your team.
And how well we think it's going to do at that upcoming race Grand Prix weekend. Because we love getting you guys involved. Obviously, we have the normal regulars of Katie, Yanni and Rox in there. So, and JB's started coming in now as well.
We've seen you in the comments.
So, if you're involved in fantasy, this is a place to kind of share your fantasy love.
Yeah.
Come share it with us. Let us rate your team.
Rate your team. You can rate our teams as well.
Yeah, you do that. Rate our team.
If we rate your team badly, you can rate our teams badly if you want.
Yeah, I mean, we claim to be F1 fantasy experts, but we're not. But, I came second in the league last year and you came fourth.
Oh, okay, yeah, bring it up again.
Well, I mean, it's just facts.
Well, okay.
It's like like George Russell. Facts.
It was only second half of the season. Overall, I did pretty well.
All right, okay. Yeah, fair point. Fair point. But anyway, guys, that has been another F1 Fantasy Weekly. And if they are new around here or haven't done so already, Stephen, what can they do?
They can like, they can subscribe, and they can ding that bell.
Ding that bell. Boom. And like we said, comment down below. Comment down below with any questions on the rules. Comment down below on your thoughts on the new features and the new website layout. Are you impressed with what they've done? Obviously, last week we had our Sugar Rush kind of excited reaction to Fantasy 2020. Now we've gone in a little bit more serious, detailed look, and hopefully it's explained and cleared up a lot of things for you guys playing. And let us know your teams ahead of the preview next week, and we will rate your team.
Rate your team.
Rate your team.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But that's it. So, guys, for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.